All right, awesome. So I'm going to get this script up. Let me pull it up. Cool. I got your bio. Bio looks good. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. What's up, UX fam? How's your mom and them? Welcome to another episode of Beyond UX Design. I'm Jeremy. If you're new here, welcome to the show. I am super stoked to have you. Beyond UX Design shop is open. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/shop to pick up some big, beautiful art prints of some of my favorite UX and software-related quotes, or pick up some digital downloads and print them yourself. Pick up your copy of Beyond UX Design, master your craft beyond pixels and prototypes, get free shipping on all orders over $30, and use the code LISTENER to get 10% off your entire order. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/shop to get your print on. This week's episode is brought to you by Wix Studio. If you're thinking about redoing your portfolio or kicking off a new website project, listen up. I only have 30 seconds to tell you about Wix Studio, the web platform for agencies and enterprises. So here are a few things that you can do from start to finish in 30 seconds or less on Studio. You can adapt your designs for every device with responsive AI. You can jump seamlessly between front-end and back-end. You can speed up projects with an AI code assistant. You can start a design library. You can reuse full-stack apps and UI components across multiple sites. Well, the time's up, but the list keeps going. Step into Wix Studio and see for yourself. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/Wix to start creating today. This week's episode is brought to you by Backlog, a community of designers building their businesses together. If you've been dreaming of escaping the 9-to-5 and building your own business, Backlog is the community for you. Backlog brings together hungry designers turned entrepreneurs all working to grow their freelancing gigs, content, digital products, and design agencies. Join a network of like-minded folks sharing tactics, strategies, and systems to help you succeed. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/backlog and become a part of a community that's building their businesses together. Don't wait. Find your path to independence with Backlog. And if you haven't done it already, please consider subscribing to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you are a regular here and you feel like you're getting something out of the show, I would really appreciate you leaving a 5-star review. That'll help me out so much more than you can imagine. And as always, thanks so much to Chris, Siraquan, Stacy, Radu, Megan, Andrew, John, Mark, Kevin, Jason, Michelle, and Marty for all their support. And if you want to join these fine folks and many others and help keep the show independent and ad-free, you'll get rough transcripts and exclusive access to the entire video library of episodes, including episodes before they're released. You can get instant access to the video archives right now for as little as $5 a month. And for more information on how you can support the show and help more people find out about what we're doing here, make sure to check out beyonduxdesign.com/support. And of course, if you think the show is worth sharing, then for the love of God, tell your mom and them about it. So, as UX designers, something that I think, well, me personally, I don't know, I can't speak for every UX designer. Something I'm not super familiar with is the idea of sales funnels, marketing funnels, top of funnel, mid funnel, bottom funnel, all that stuff. It's completely foreign to me. And as an entrepreneur, someone who's recently turned entrepreneur, I feel like that's sort of sad because I should know those things, but I don't, which is why I've got my friend Lena Kul on the show today to help us think about how we might take our job search and reframe it and start thinking about it in terms of a funnel. And I find this incredibly fascinating, and I hope some folks get something out of this today. Lena Kul has been a guiding force for many designers throughout their careers. As the lead design and research recruiter at Miro, she built one of the strongest design teams in Europe. Following the success, she transitioned into a UX research role to deepen her understanding of the discipline. Lena has since established a thriving advisory practice that empowers designers and UX researchers in their job searches and career transitions. She's also an active thought leader on LinkedIn, sharing valuable insights daily. In August of this year, she launched her Maven course, Master Your Product Design and UX Research Job Search, where she has already helped over 60 designers and UX researchers acquire the skills needed to stand out in a competitive market. Lena's students report receiving more interview opportunities, navigating easier processes, experiencing boosted confidence, and even signing contracts. And most recently, Lena founded Kul, a boutique recruitment and job search advising agency, and has embraced solopreneurship to amplify the impact she has made in the design community over the past few years. Lena, I can't think of a better person to come on and talk about this idea today and help everybody out there with their job search. Welcome to Beyond UX Design. I am so excited to have you on. How's it going?
It's going so well, Jeremy. It's been amazing to watch you introduce all of those things. Thank you so much for having me as well. And I'm so excited to chat about the funnel and tell you all about it. And hopefully we can all, discover something new today.
I'm so excited to have you on and talk about this. You've got your Maven course. And so you have been talking about this for a while, especially on LinkedIn. And by the way, if you're not following Lena on LinkedIn, just stop the audio right now. Go follow Lena and then come back and then you can listen to the rest of the episode. All right, Lena, before we start our conversation today, I am really excited to have you as a guest on the Beyond UX Design Live. Next week, we are going to be hanging out Tuesday, December 17th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. You can check out beyonduxdesign.com/events to sign up, keep updated. Lena, before we get started today, let everybody know what you want to talk about next week. What questions do you want them to ask? All that stuff.
Absolutely. I have been hearing these same questions over and over again. So I want to hear them again, but finally have an opportunity to answer live. So it's really about should I or should I not apply if I see 100, 300, or 1,000 of candidates. So I want everyone to ask me, what is it, recruitment funnel? How do I work with it? What does it mean for me as a candidate? How does it look like? Maybe I can show my pyramid as well. And I also want to talk a little bit about this back-end recruitment process, like, what's happening with the recruiters as they follow in through the applications, as they trying to process all of them. How does conversion work here, and what makes you a successful candidate in the process as well? And basically anything else that they want to ask me.
I love it. All right. So you can get your questions in early. Please get your questions in early. First come, first served. You can go to beyonduxdesign.com/events. There's a form under Lena's event. You can submit your question there and get on the list. The sooner you do that, the more likely we are to answer your question. You can also ask your question the day of the event in the comments, but I would not wait. I hope a lot of people are going to attend. So Lena, I'm really excited about that. Thanks for doing that. Really appreciate it. But Lena, so I've read your bio. You've obviously been doing a lot. Head recruiter at Miro. That's amazing. Tell us a little bit about you and ultimately, how'd you come to understand that this idea that your job search is really kind of like a funnel?
Well, there's not so much to add to what you've already told about me. I've been up to a lot of things. By the nutshell, I've spent around 6 to 7 years in recruitment. Started with back-end engineering recruitment. I guess every tech recruiter starts with it. Did it for 1 year. Will never touch it again, but then basically discovered product design and user research and creative, right? Like art direction and things like that. Fell completely in love. And so there I started. And so, moved to Miro, built the whole team as well. As you might know, and judged by the product, it's a pretty good one. So we've hired a lot of super talented folks. And then obviously, the world became what it is right now. So the job market has been really shifting, not in the right direction. And that's where I realized that I really have to not only support the company with hiring, but also there was so much struggle. And I kind of found myself very natural in that position that I was helping people and just giving those advices that to me were so obvious. And I was kind of like, how can you not know that? Come on, folks, let's do it. And then I realized that no one knows about it. And so that's where I started to really scale the practice. But answering your question about the funnel, to be honest, this is old but gold. And this is one of the things that I really hated about recruitment, that it was always compared to sales, right? Everyone would say recruiters are like salespeople, or if you worked in recruitment, you can definitely go and work in sales, which is true. But in sales, we talk about business and money and close deals. In recruitment, we talk about people, about the lives, about careers, about the future of those folks. And so I don't necessarily compare those two. But if you do take the funnel and think about it, it does open your eyes to many possibilities as the recruiter or as the candidate. And that's a very useful approach to take, especially in the market like today.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you mentioned that idea of sales, because I kind of see it almost as the opposite, where a candidate is actually the one selling themselves. And in the case of the job market, especially today, I guess you could say it's sort of like a buyer's market, where the recruiters really have the pick of the draw. They can pick whoever they want. But a candidate has to figure out how to sell their services to the company who is looking to buy the labor, right? And so it's kind of interesting that you talk about it from that perspective, because I kind of almost see it as sort of like the opposite, where you have to think as a candidate, how can you market yourself? How can you sell yourself? How can you find the right buyer? Where's that product market fit, right? From the candidate's perspective. And that's where I find this idea of a funnel to be so intriguing, because, when we talk about the funnel, and again, I don't really know much about the funnel. I still have to Google this stuff. But I wonder if you could sort of talk a little bit about this idea, though, of top funnel, mid funnel, bottom funnel, and how that sort of relates to a job search. I'm using a lot of hand motions over here. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see, but if you're listening, you might just hear me like hit the mic by mistake. Anyway, and talk to me a little bit about that idea of the funnel, and can you sort of break that down for those like me who might be really good at design, but not so much sales and marketing and things like that?
For sure. And don't you just feel that you kind of want to do that when you talk about the funnel?
Yes,
Every time.
I keep doing this with my hands,
I
and I'm
know.
moving it back and forth, like up and down. Yeah, it's weird. It's very bizarre. I'm Italian.
Talk
I
about
talk
the
a lot with
funnel.
my
I'm
hands.
like, come on, folks. Like this is the funnel and this is you. But it's interesting what you're saying specifically about the candidates kind of, being in the funnel right now and having to market themselves. And now they have to, but before they didn't have to. And this is where I see like a very interesting shift of the mindset because the best candidates have always been marketing them and like selling them and being on top of their funnel, right? And like really knew how to sell themselves and how to talk about the strengths and still could differentiate themselves from the market. It just now everyone understands that without it, it's kind of like it became a standard, right? But it always was there. And also like an interesting kind of, everyone says, oh, it's so much harder to get a job. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like 100% true. Yes, of course, there are factors that making it harder, but just the gap between those who understand how to market themselves and those who don't, it just became much bigger. And so if you're on the side that you don't know how to market yourself, you are truly struggling. But if we speak about the concept of the funnel, we can look at the candidate funnel and the recruitment funnel. Those are the same funnels, but you kind of would approach it from different perspectives. And I guess the goals are similar, not necessarily exactly the same. In the recruitment funnel, it is that triangle that's kind of flipped, right? And you would look at the basically candidates that you would source, the candidates that would apply. And so that's the same layer of the funnel. And then there is application stage, recruitment call, hiring manager call. Usually then there would be like a craft round, specifically for product design and user research. They would move into cross-functional round, a team round, executive or leadership interview, whatever. And then there is, of course, an offer. And so the idea of the recruitment funnel is that you want to, the old school idea, and I guess the sales idea, that's where I see the sales really kind of, mixing up a little bit the good practices of recruitment. The idea of sales is that you should have as many leads as possible on the top of a funnel so you could progress them till the end. My personal idea of a great recruitment funnel is that you bring X amount of people, let's say 10, and out of 10, you're actually able to convert a candidate into a hire. So as little candidate as possible, with very clear understanding of what you're looking for, with wasting less time for the team, hiring manager, the people out there, and things like that. But to do that, and to be very careful with your time, that's where the definition of the perfect candidate profile comes in. So what are the competencies that we're looking for? How we're going to be assessing those competencies? What kind of questions we're going to be asking? And so the same funnel basically moves into the candidate perspective, right? And so the top of a funnel for the candidate is this limitless, or not so limitless at this point, but still there are lots of opportunities out there. Like all of those companies that are advertising roles. The bottom of the funnel would be basically they being not necessarily being hired, potentially like getting those offers and deciding. Of course, because you could be able to convert several companies, right? So like you need to see basically what you want. And so of course, like the very end price is the signed contract. And the middle of the funnel, similar to the recruitment funnel, it's obviously the process, right? So like how you go through the interviews, how you interact with recruiters, hiring managers, executives, anyone else throughout the funnel. And so an interesting part about the candidate funnel, and this is like the skill that seems to be not so understood or even known about, that you have to target your funnel, right? And finding your product market fit yourself as a product that you're selling, you have to understand what is your kind of value proposition that you're selling and how can you best reach them in order to actually be able even to advertise yourself. Because quite often I talk to the candidates and they say, I've tried everything I could. Lena, I've tried everything. I've redone my CV and portfolio. I always have to change my CV for each and every job. And I'm like, why? What are the jobs that you're applying for? What are you up to? And they're like, well, I applied for this and that and user research and product design and digital design and director of design. And and all of those things. And I'm like, but what is the role that you want? Like, those are different roles. And what is the company that you want to work with? Like, what is the environment that you're looking for? Does it have to be remote? Where does it have to be located? Right? How, like, what kind of flexibility or like other perks and benefits do you want? And that's how you start defining your perfect company. And that's how you start defining what you bring to the company. So creating your product market fit. And that's how you actually, from that funnel, you go into that funnel, very focused, very narrow. And actually that saves you a lot of time, mental health, capacity, right? Because it's exhausting. People are getting burned out from recruitment processes because, well, yeah, it is hard and it's nerve breaking. And so that's how the candidates should be looking at the conversions within the funnel for themselves.
Yeah, I love that. Because, this is crazy because I talk to so many people that will just apply to every single job. And they'll just, every day, they'll apply like 20, 30, 100. I've heard of people saying, I've applied to thousands of jobs. And just like you said, they're sort of, you can't see, if you're listening, we're sort of taking our hands and closing them, making them close together. But you've got this really crazy wide funnel where I've applied to 1,000 jobs that are not even a good fit for me. And I probably would never even get the job in the first place. And the idea is to just figure that out. Like, what do you want first and foremost? And I think that's what a lot of people, I just want a job. I'll take any job, any freaking job. Just give me a job. For the love of God, give me a job. But it's so hard. I think this is something we say in marketing in general. But, if you try to please everyone, you please no one. If you try to market a product to everyone, you're gonna market it to nobody. And so, it starts kind of looking inward, right? Like, what do you actually want? Are you looking for, certainly you mentioned remote versus on site, that's a great place to start. What type of role do you want? What actual job do you want to do? And so that taking that idea and saying, I'm not going to apply to 1,000 roles anymore. I want to apply and be very specific and find the ones that I actually want. I think this is something that a lot of people forget, but as a candidate, you have power to choose. You have the power to find the company that's a good fit for you. You are not powerless in this whole scenario, this whole process. And I just love that idea of as a recruiter, thinking about this from their perspective, they don't want 1,000 candidates. I can't imagine as a recruiter what it's like right now when I put my job on LinkedIn and suddenly I've got 1,000 applicants in a week. Like, that is just, I just can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what that is like. And so your job as a candidate is to find the ones where you're a good fit so that you make that candidate, that recruiter's job easier. And I think that's something that a lot of people, they just sort of fail to see. So I'm curious, if I'm a candidate and I am trying to find that perfect fit, how does a candidate know that a job is a good fit or I would be a good fit for that role? Is it just looking at the job description? Or is there more to it? How does that candidate know if that application is a worthy use of their time? As you pointed out, you don't have the time. How do you know? How does that work?
I guess there are several ways to know. First of all, what I do in my course, for example, even before we start building CVs and portfolios and all of those things, we do the self-reflection exercise. So what are my core strengths and what are my core areas for growth? And then, as you said, remote versus on-site, manager versus IC, UXR or product design, right? Because even if you're a product designer, you cannot go and work as a UXI. Those are two different roles, right? Like, yes, you've touched it, but the depth of your experience is not the same as any user researcher would bring potentially. And so I think reflecting on yourself and really figuring out like, okay, those 3 top skills are my strengths, and those 3 skills is something that I'm not very good at. So if the company is looking for it, there is a good chance that I'm actually not going to go through because I don't have them. And then as easy as it is, yes, you go into the LinkedIn or whatever, using, and you find in the jobs. I actually think what many people don't do, they don't look at the roles as the field of opportunities. Like every job description, you will find many commonalities and similarities. So what I would suggest, be a designer, be a researcher, right? So find all of those insights and synthesize them, group them. What are the roles that really correspond with your top skills? What are the roles that correspond with your areas for growth? Because maybe you want to grow, right? Maybe you want to, like, you're happy to take a lower title, but actually go and develop those things. Or maybe there are some like very remote roles. And then identify top 5 roles, and those are the roles that you could actually be going and applying. But I guess what's really important to mention that if you just apply for a role, even if you're a great candidate, if you apply for a role where there have been, 600 applications or anything like that, which is super standard situation at this point, you may never, ever get in. I recently just gave a Breaking Through Recruitment Myths talk, and I showed a very realistic scenario of like, should I or should I not apply if there are 300 candidates, right? And I showed basically a conversion from the top of the funnel towards the end of the funnel. And the reality is, as you said, people would apply for whatever, right? And like, let's see, what kind of strategy is it? Like, let's see. I shall see, I'm like, nothing good comes out of I shall see, right? And so basically when people do that, yes, we get like those hundreds and hundreds of applications. And even to process them, like for 300 applications, basically a recruiter would take something like up to 5 days to just process the candidates and to interview them. Considering that, only like 60 out of 300 candidates would go into the recruiter call, because let's face it, 50% of the applications are not even product designers for product design roles, right? When I was still actively recruiting at Miro, there would be like a senior product design application, and literally every third CV was whatever, engineer, like an agile coach. Yeah, okay, like you're part of the cross-functional team, but can you really push the pixels? Like it's not the same role. So I think taking your chances and going for those roles who are like heavily attacked by the candidates is still okay. But if you target it well, and those are 5 top companies that really talk into your strengths and really talk into your aspirations, so you can build a very good narrative why this company is the company for you. If you build your CV and portfolio around that as well, and also speaking about your impact, because I don't need to read another job description in your CV. That's not about that, right? It's really about what you bring as a person to the company. And then you go and network, right? You don't apply for those jobs because, yes, if you land there, you may be expecting an answer in 2-3 months. And then everyone says, oh, I was ghosted. You weren't ghosted. They just didn't get to you yet. Like wait for it. Because, yeah, we all created and experienced on those things. And so I would definitely, could see a great opportunity for folks to do self-reflection, do reflection, and like kind of like a benchmarking of the jobs out there, and then go in and just bug in the team members and saying, hey, I really like your company. Do you have 15 minutes to chat with me? This is my portfolio. Have a look. Would you like to chat? And follow up 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and they will respond. And that's the reality of the market. And that's the reality of selling products. That's the reality of recruiting people. And that's the reality of networking nowadays. You have to follow up. You will be ghosted. You will be rejected. And it's totally okay because that's a part of the game.
Yeah. Now, okay, I want to talk about the networking stuff, but I want to put a bookmark on that, because I want to go back and I want to talk about from a recruiter's perspective. Again, thinking about the funnel and having this gigantic funnel. When you've got 1,000 applicants, I don't even, actually, before I make up a number, let me ask you as a recruiter, I don't know if you can give me like numbers. Well, let's just say averages. When you post a job on a job site, LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever, what is like an average number that you're seeing? And to be fair, Miro is a giant company, so obviously people know the name and they're more likely to apply. But what would like an average number of applicants be after, let's say, a week? Is that something you can give us?
I cannot give the number. I can definitely tell you that they will not hang there for a week because of the giant number of the applications. I can give you an example. In my last couple of months, I was working with the recruitment coordinator that was based in the US. And basically in Miro, we had this whole process that I, as a recruiter, would have to like kind of, push the job, but the recruitment coordinators would like really put it online. But the agreement was because of this madness on the market that I'm not going to be posting my jobs. I'm going to be sourcing for my roles, right? Because I don't need to be checking all of those CVs. And so I had 3 jobs that had to go online, but not being published, basically. But something broke in our communication. And so I went to sleep, being based in Berlin, and a person woke up in Austin and basically posted my 3 jobs.
Oh
And I
no.
woke up rather early. So it's been online, I think, for around 7 hours, 3 roles. And I came back to 487 applications
Oh my God.
in 7 hours for 3 roles. So this is basically what's happening. And I wrote this like ginormous LinkedIn post and that got an insane amount of traction because I basically broke it down. How much time will I need to go through each and every CV, even on if on average it take like 30 seconds per CV, because some of the CVs would be just a no, and some would have to be a little bit longer. And it was kind of mid-July, and even to promising candidates, to some of them, I would speak in November, realistically speaking, with having that many applicants. This is what we're seeing basically on the recruitment side of things.
Okay. Yeah. So the reason why I ask is I am just sort of curious because as a candidate, and this is sort of that spray and pray. I like to call it the spray and pray method, where people just sort of like apply to like 1,000 things. And the reason why I ask is I feel like, and I want you to tell me if this is crazy or not, but I feel like at a certain point, I hate to say it's not worth it, but I personally feel like at a certain point after a job has been open for a certain amount of time, a recruiter has already gotten so many applicants that just statistically speaking, let's use the Pareto principle. 20% of those applicants are probably going to be perfectly capable of doing the job. And the company would probably be perfectly happy hiring 20% of those 400 people, right? That you could safely say maybe, and let's even be like maybe conservative 10%. So you've still got 40 candidates that could probably do the job pretty well. After a week or so, I'm wondering, like, is it really worth it to even start applying like that after a job has been posted for a while? And I have a reasoning behind this, and I want to get to this in a second when we start talking about networking. But I'm curious, is that something like you advise people to sort of like shoot your shot? I guess it can't hurt, but at a certain point, a recruiter just can't get to all those people. So realistically, is it even worth going after? I'm curious what you think.
I love this question. And as you may see, I'm actually looking a little bit on the different screen because that's exactly what I've been breaking in my talk for the candidates. You see, there are two perspectives. Like, there is no yes or no answer. Definitely no to the Pareto rule, because if out of 400 applicants, 20% of them were actually good, all recruiters would be the happiest people in the world, and we would not have all this problem.
That's true. I guess you're right. I'm being a sort of, yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Get burned out and exhausted and lose the sleep and things like that. So absolutely not. Because also, this whole situation is a big chicken and an egg problem. All right, we just posted the job. There are 400 applicants. Let's review. Actually, only 10 applicants are good. And then we go through the funnel and none of them convert. Maybe one or two are like a very strong candidates. Like, hey, we got 400 applicants in just 3 days. So why don't we just post it again? The hiring manager says, and see whether we get a better candidate. And so you go into this vicious circle thinking that there is always a better candidate because thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have been laid off. And so that's default number one. I've never worked with such hiring manager because if my hiring manager would have told me, hey, Lena, let's see whether there's something on the market, I would tell him or her, being like, go and see yourself. That's not my job. My job is to really work with requirements and not compare candidates to candidates, but candidates towards requirements. And if you do feel that this candidate is adequately answering all the requirements that we have imposed to them, we should be hiring them. I made this case study for my talk that 300 people applied. And so I said, ideally, or like, as you said, 20%, those are not hireable candidates in the Pareto rule. Those are 20% that we can move towards the recruitment screen. So out of 300 candidates, move 20%, and it's 60 candidates, right? Every second person will be rejected because of A, B, C reasons. And people also okay, so I just want to confirm, can we relocate? Because you saw that this position is in New York and you are in whatever, Los Angeles. And then people would say, no, actually, I cannot relocate, but I really wanted to talk to you, right? Like, so this is how recruitment works. And this is why you see more and more of those surveys that are AI driven that reject people, because recruiters are trying to really understand, like, what are your intentions and can you really meet the baseline requirement we have to you towards salary, seniority, things like that. The recruiter speaks to 60 people, 50% fall out, 50% people go. So it's 30% for the hiring manager go. Every third, let's say, would go into the craft round. This is very realistic conversion, by the way, based fully on my previous experience. So 90 people go into the craft round, and this is where most of the people fail. So I gave a very positive outlook that 30% out of 9 people would actually pass. In my experience at Miro, we could totally see, like, if you passed craft round, there's a very good chance we're going to be hiring you. But it also means that most of the people will fail the craft round. So out of 9 people, 30% pass. So we'll move 3 people in the craft round. Let's say 2 pass, because there is always one that, something is off. And then they would go into the executive round. Executive round is a very interesting round because depending on the executive seniority, the stage of the company, you can be speaking with the CDO, CPO, head of design, CEO, CC, whatsoever, or. And so the questions can be either very interesting and strategic, and they would be really picking your brain on product acumen and how you gonna be building this company, or it can be something completely out of the blue, and people get lost and scared, and that's basically it. Even for those 2 candidates who got to the end of the funnel. So should you be applying? Well, there are only 2 people at the executive round. It's not much. And the chances that you may not be able to convert those candidates are also high, because I love what you said, Jeremy. I don't know why we all have decided that recruiters and hiring managers have all the power. They are as desperate to hire you as you are to get desperate, right? Maybe a lot of the situations are different, but they really need the people as well. And yes, it's an employer-driven market. However, as soon as you pass the craft round, this is when your time begins. This is when you should start talking, you're what do you want, right? What's bugging you about this role? What are the questions that you have? And I loved what you asked me, hey, Lena, where in the funnel you work with the recruiter and the hiring manager. You should be working with your recruiter through all the stages of the funnel. I've given several talks, and I call it a recruitment touch point. And after each and every stage, good recruiter will have a touch point with you. Hey, those are the red flags that we see in you. Hey, that's how the team feels about you. Hey, we actually have some more candidates in the pipeline. We don't know whether we're going to be proceeding with you. Do you have any other processes? Can you wait for us to decide, right? Or the role can be frozen or anything like that. If the recruiter doesn't do that, take your destiny into your own hands and start having those touch points. Hey, how's it going? Hey, how does your funnel look like? My funnel looks this way. How does your funnel look like? How many candidates do you have at the end of the funnel? How fast do you want to close a candidate? Hey, I may be having an offer within a week. Do you think we can push our process because I'm very interested in this opportunity? So it's 100% two-way street where you can be talking to a recruiter. But the biggest problem, and this is what you asked me in the very first place, networking, right? Networking. And, should you or should you not apply when there have been 300, 400, 500 applicants? And I think the answer is yes, only if you go and network. And if you're just gonna apply, you might as well spare yourself those broken, feelings of being ghosted and forgotten and never get an answer, because you will not. There is a very good chance that you will not. And there is actually a reason why you don't get an answer, because companies want to keep you in the talent pool in their ATS, applicant tracking system, which does not reject you automatically. And this is something as well that we should be talking more. And
So what you're saying is getting ghosted might actually not be that bad of a thing after all, because it means you haven't officially been rejected? Is that, obviously every ATS is different, every company's different, but is that kind of been your experience? If you don't get official rejection, you might be sitting in that job purgatory, maybe.
You sit in the pool, depending on the country, you sit for a different period of time, because in Europe there is GDPR, so you cannot keep a candidate for more than 2 years, and then the profile gets anonymized. In the US, I don't believe that this is the thing. So you can actually be sitting in the talent pool of the ATS of the company for years and years and years. The different question is what they're going to do about it, right? Because lots of people think that ATS is this super advanced technology, and then the recruiter can go and search and source you out of this ATS. That's actually not true. So even if you stay there, most likely you're going to be forgotten. For a recruiter, it's easier to actually go and source you on LinkedIn. And if you're lucky, they will find you. Then digging into the ATS. Well, what I'm also saying that if you applied and never got a response, I would not necessarily call it a ghosting, right? Because this is what I'm trying to kind of fight a little bit in the mentality of the candidate. You applied and you never got a response. Can be for so many reasons. The role has been prioritized, deprioritized. Like there have been like 300 candidates, and basically the company took 5 months to process them. And now it's really bad for the brand for them to reject you. But they didn't want to reject you back then because they didn't know what is the quality of the funnel. But when the time has passed, but they still moving candidates like through the funnel, in the middle of the funnel, they cannot go and reach out to you. And this is like, let's ask questions to the ATS systems. Hey, ATS providers, companies that charging thousands and thousands of dollars from all the companies, why don't you automate updates for candidates? Hey, it's very busy in the funnel, so keep it up, and like just wait for your recruits to come back to you. Why there is no automation email that can actually pin a candidate and let them know? Because yes, the truth is building those templates and doing all of that manually, it's a big task for a recruiter. And if you're dealing with those thousands of applications, you're not going to be doing that. And this is why the candidate experience is so core this couple of years, because there are no tools that support recruiters to actually provide any decent candidate experience. But coming back to the question, should you or should you not apply? You should apply, but how you should apply is to reach out to the team members and try to get into the recruitment call funnel instead of the application part of the funnel.
I love that. So here's something I'm sort of looking for validation maybe, and please be honest, tell me if you think this is a ridiculous thing to say. But I've been saying this for the last couple of years. Stop applying, start connecting, right? Going and mass applying to 1,000 jobs on LinkedIn every day is a complete waste of your time. What's better, your time is better spent connecting with people and getting, just like you said, in those phone logs or calls or getting in line to have like a phone call with somebody or a DM or something, some kind of conversation. Now that's obviously easier said than done. And I'm curious though, when you talk about networking, the first thing everybody kind of thinks about is, oh, I'm going to send someone a DM on LinkedIn. And that's clearly like a way to network. It's not the only way to network. But when you think about networking, tell me what you kind of see as an effective networking strategy for a job hunter to get into that funnel and not be overlooked or ignored or ghosted. Is there might not be a silver bullet, but I'm curious what you think. What does that look like from your perspective?
It's a great question. I love talking about networking because honestly, like we all misunderstood networking with LinkedIn, I guess, that like, I sent a connection request and now this is my network. No, it's not.
Your first connection.
Like you cannot use it. I think there are a couple of things that you can be doing. First of all, there is this concept of give, ask. What people do nowadays is, for example, what I receive every single day of like 5, 6, 10 messages, depending on how viral or good my post went. Hi, Lena, I'm a product designer. I need a job. Thank you. Okay, great. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, there's no call to action. I have no idea what's going on. Why am I a person to help? Like I'm not necessarily saying that I'm actively recruiting for anything. So targeting is off, messaging is off, messages of networking create this feeling of entitlement. Like, hey, you work like around recruitment and hiring areas, you must help me. I don't work for the global market. I work for the clients, right? So like this is also a very different way to connect with recruiters and hiring managers and team members. But what I mean by the give, ask, besides well-written outreaches, when I understand what you're asking from me, is that you should be at least trying to engage a little bit with the person before you ask them for help. And it's okay to ask for help. And honestly, this is the time in the world where we should all come together and should all become stronger. And community has never been as important as right now, which is pretty awesome, right? You can work from home and feel like a part of a community at any point in a day or in time. But what you should be given is your time and effort as well, and like intent to help others. And then that will convert into help for you. So I always say, you can connect with the person, but try to create a very authentic kind of messaging, like why you connect with them. Don't say who you are and what you want. It should be about them in the first place. And then if you read something interesting and you think they would benefit from that, send it to them, tag them there, like their post, engage with them. Even if a person sees you 2-3 times on their LinkedIn, they will already kind of recognize you. This is just an unconscious thing, how it works for everyone. So if you actually engage with them directly or indirectly, this is how you build connection. And this is how, talking about sales and recruitment, this is how you generate warm leads. And warm leads are the leads that you convert. Cold leads, as we all know, cold calling, for example, doesn't work necessarily as well. And so when you do something 3 times, or you pop in someone's mind and feed, for that matter, a couple of times, this is when you can go and say, hey, I've been following you, or like we've been connected for some time. I really like what you do, ABC, really identify with that. Would you mind to hop on 15 minutes call, And don't say just 15 minutes call, but 15 minutes call to do ABC. And by the way, if you're not open to have a call, can I ask you that async? Because also no one owes you that time. No one owes anyone that Zoom call. And we don't know what kind of schedules people are working with. So give options. Really enable yourself to succeed in that request. And so that's a very good connection strategy that I would use. But the rest of the, effort, I would totally put into reconnecting with your existing network. And this advice potentially is not as good for very junior folks, but even if you work for 1 or 2 years or something, or even half a year, basically, a very interesting idea. What you could be doing is really networking with people who you used to work. So like every person in your previous company is your network. Every person who they have worked before is also your network. So your network of your network, how cool is that? And then think about friends who also work in tech, for example. Do they work in the companies? Do they have friends? Do they have ex-colleagues who worked with colleagues? Because everyone says, oh, Lena, I would network, I would connect. But a free LinkedIn gives me only 5 opportunities to like send the request. Okay, talk to your friends, ask for a WhatsApp introduction, ask for an email introduction. There are ways, be creative, because design is about creativity. Research is about creativity, about finding the solutions in very complex problems. So here you go. Think about the network of the network of the network and find different ways to get connected. And this is how you get into the funnel through a very warm way. And I personally hired people who've done it.
Right. Now, you said something a while ago that I want to like kind of come back to, and tell me if this is correct, if I'm hearing you right, because I want to make sure I understand this. You said earlier that the recruiters are actually just as desperate often as job seekers to find the right candidate. And so they are really hungry, it seems like, for information, whether that's, are you a good fit from what I'm looking for? Can I move you forward in the funnel? Because I don't want to send someone forward in the funnel that might end up being a waste of time later. So when you say give, ask, I'm curious, is giving, like, could you perceive giving as more information? Like, I have this background, I have this, and this, and that helps you as a recruiter to either say, no, this is not a good fit, or I have a position somewhere else, or I have this other thing, or, not a good fit now, but we are going to be looking for that in the future. And I'm curious, when you say give, ask, is that kind of what you're thinking? Like that information, the more information I can give you as a recruiter, as a candidate to a recruiter, that's actually helpful information? Or is there something else I can give you as a candidate to help that relationship blossom, I guess, for lack of a better word?
This is an excellent question. Thank you so much, because I feel like there's a lot to unpack. In general, never recommend anyone to try to connect with recruiters on LinkedIn, because you folks already applied for those roles, right? And there are hundreds of applications. The last thing they need is also you bombarded them on LinkedIn with the same messages.
Yeah.
However, there is like a big but, and you asked me like, is there a silver bullet to kind of get into that funnel? Remember in the very beginning of our conversation, I told you that you really need to target employers, and you really need to reflect on your skills and build the application assets or materials, however you want to call them, that would reflect those strengths that correspond with the competencies that the company is trying to hire. So if you do that, and if you actually target it really well, And if you do reach out to a recruiter with a very clear and short, don't tell me where you studied. No, I don't care, right? Like I care what you've done, what you bring. And definitely include portfolio. And if it is a right fit, it can convert. But you have to be extremely targeted, right? Like with your outreaches. So that's very important to understand. However, what I really mean, I personally think we all should be connecting more with our own communities. Design community is an amazing space. Honestly, I know that designers and researchers are really struggling because there's like this portfolio whole epidemic, in the hiring world. But also, we are in the most friendly and warm and well connected community that you can imagine. And no one else from tech has it, right? And so, what you should be doing is you should be reaching out to the folks from your community and trying to give to them and then ask them for help. However, there is also a layer of complexity or strategy, as I would call it, that you need to consider. If you are a senior product designer, go ahead and reach out to senior product designers, maybe lead product designers, staff product designers. So peers on your level or level above. However, if you are a senior product designer and you reach out only to directors of product design, you may not be converting either unless they have very clear open roles because it's simply, this is not the same level of seniority. And so for them, it doesn't make so much sense to actually add you to their network because, well, you're not swimming in the exactly same part of the lake, even though the lake is the same. So this is what I find very fascinating because in my course, there is an exercise to identify a profile and create a networking outreach. And many people reach out to chief design officers. And I'm like, why? This is the person who makes the very final decision potentially or gives an input as an executive round. But they would never work with the top of the funnel. You need to work and connect with people who can bring you to that top of the funnel. And they will not be doing that. So you should be connecting with team members who potentially assessing your CVs and portfolios with the recruiters. You should be connecting with the hiring managers who are looking to hire for their role or who may be looking to hire for their role or who may know someone who is looking to hire for their role. I want everyone to understand that networking is not only to secure the role right now. Those are the people who will still be, like, you don't know what kind of impact they can have on your life in general. And if you're lucky and you network well, network will pay off. And I honestly, all opportunities that I've had in the last 2 years came out purely from my network. And they found me more than I found them, which is an absolutely incredible thing that I'm trying to convey to everyone. That's like, you have to put an effort because it really pays off. And so when you find relevant people that you're genuinely interested in connecting and learning more, it's easier to invest. And so, as I said, you don't want to create an article and send it to them, find something and send to them. You saw that they were talking somewhere, watch that talk, come back and say, hey, I really like this insight. What else do you think about? Or like, can you share more on that? Or like, I'm just very passionate. Just make sure that they see you, but make it about them. Because also, when recruiters, smart recruiters, reach out to candidates, we don't talk about ourselves. We don't talk even about companies. We don't talk about roles even that much. We talk about candidates and their experiences and their background and why we think they are the best fit. Do the same when you network. And once again, thinking about the funnel, right? It's the same lead conversion. So that definitely helps a lot. So yes, if you have a great fit and you have a great CV and portfolio, go ahead and try to chat with the recruiter or better with the team member. But if you don't, just network with your network and the relevant folks, and you will see how just making them aware of yourself and then later of your needs, even if they don't have something right now, in one day, someone may reach out and say, hey, do you know someone? Because I have this role and this is how you get a lead.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I've always found it interesting that, a junior designer, for instance, looking for a junior role or even a mid-level, let's just say staff, whatever, is going to reach out to an executive level chief CDO, chief design officer at a giant company and expect to have a conversation with these people. Like, they're probably super busy. Do you think the staff designers are chatting with the CDOs on a regular basis at, in a 1,000 person, 2,000, 3,000 person company maybe at a startup, a CDO is like sitting next to you, but more than likely, you're probably not. And something that I think a lot of people, I don't know, I haven't really talked to a lot of people do this, but I love giving this advice is, one, tying this back to what we talked about in the very beginning, look inward, find out where you want to go and target those companies. And then you could use LinkedIn or maybe other places, wherever they happen to be. Find people at your level that work there and reach out to them and befriend them. And, it's again, give, ask. It's not being selfish, trying to just, use them to get an in or a referral. But those people, and this is the other thing you mentioned, like designers, we love to talk about ourselves. We love to talk about our work, and so we love to talk about design. Reach out to those staff level people. It's like willing to bet those people probably aren't getting pinged a whole lot. The recruiters and the hiring managers, they probably are sick of getting DMs, but go and find those people and then start talking to them, find out what it's like working there before you even apply, because you might hate it. You might not like it. You might have this rose-colored glasses. Oh, it's the business. I love Fang. It's this big, beautiful, sexy company. And then they're like, I haven't slept in 2 weeks. I get these deadlines and it's miserable. I can't wait to quit. It's awful. I hate it. I've talked to people that work at Meta and X that feel that way. And they would be like, I would never want anyone to work here. Then other people that work there love it. So it all depends who you talk to. But, that's the kind of thing, go and talk to people that are actually doing the job that you want and find out if it's even the job you want. Thinking about that funnel again, is this company even going to be in your funnel? And so I think that's something a lot of people don't realize. Oh, I gotta apply to Fang. I gotta apply to Fang. I gotta work at a Fang company. No, you don't. You could have a perfectly fruitful career working in some obscure industrial company that no one's ever heard of. You don't need to work in these sexy companies, quote unquote, sexy companies. So anyway, I just love that idea of finding people that are at your level, networking with them, and then using that as an in. Something that I often try to tell people is, if you can get a referral from those people. I used to work at a company, they would give me $1,000 if my referral got hired, right? So there's often, not every company does this, obviously, but there could be incentives for that person to even want to send you a referral in the first place. And often the executives, at least where I work, the executives didn't get that, right? So it was only for the lower level individual contributors and stuff. So anyway, that's just something to think about. I don't know, sometimes, I know I've heard people that did get referrals and got ghosted, quote unquote ghosted, and never even heard back with a referral. So it all depends on the company, but still, I think that's a better place to start than just the cold application on LinkedIn. So I don't know. I don't know if you have any extra thoughts there, but that's just something I like to tell people is find the people at the role you want and then network with them.
For sure. I love what you're saying about the referrals, and most of the companies would pay the referral bonuses. It's just a difference. There are two different types of referrals. There is a referral, meaning that you've worked with the person, so then you're entitled to get the money. And there is a lead, because if you haven't worked with that person, then the company may not pay you. But very different. Very little companies actually make that differentiation. And so, yes, the ultimate goal is actually to get referred by that person. Some people can get ghosted because still it may not be a relevant referral. Is it good? No. I mean, ghosting candidates is just basically so bad. You see, I have no words to that, but that can happen. But yes, getting referred is a great idea. And I think what's really important to do as a candidate is to know all of those things, right? And to be like, hey, let's chat. How is it going? And things like that. And then would you mind to refer me? Would you mind referring me for that role? Because they may not even think about it. So, bring that up and really have your strategy ahead of you as well.
Yeah, I love that. All right. So the last thing I want to talk about is this, right now is an awful time for candidates. I think we know that. A lot of layoffs. People, I hate to say that it's getting better. I've heard reports that it's getting better. I don't like to say that because I honestly, personally have no idea. And even if it's getting better at a macro level, that doesn't mean it's getting better at a micro level. So people are stressed out. People are concerned. People are nervous. And I'm curious from, everything we talked about today. We talked about networking and things like that. These things take a very long time. It is not something you do overnight. And I think that's probably why we see a lot of people just desperately reaching out to recruiters, get me a job, because they've sort of, been unemployed for a long time or they can't find a job, so they get desperate. So I'm curious if you are in that position and you are struggling to find work and maybe you're stuck in a dead-end job that you hate and you can't get a job so you can leave. What are some tips for those people who are just they've tried a bunch of stuff, they get so burnt out and they feel overwhelmed, they're struggling. What do you say to those people who are in that position?
And it's so sad, it's so sad that we have to be talking about burned out people when we talk about the job search, because it's supposed to be an exciting moment in your life, right? Like you looking for your next challenge, for your next opportunity. This is how we were advertising it all these years. And yes, indeed, this is what it is. I think there are a couple of things that everyone should be considering, no matter whether they don't have a job or employed, but like really want to leave, because also survival guilt is a thing. Like lots of companies firing people, and those who stayed, they don't feel very well. Like I myself survived one layoff, and also being asked to go, as I say. So I understand both kind of parts of the frustration. So definitely I realize that many people want to leave afterwards. So things that I would 100% recommend. First of all, if you feeling burned out, or if you feel lost, if you don't know what you want to do, you have to take some time to rest. And I understand that not everyone can afford to rest for 3 months and travel through South America and enjoy life. I realize that. But even taking 3 days and consciously not doing anything and really letting your brain set free from all those thoughts is incredibly helpful. Because honestly, I've seen candidates who've been like in processes for months and months and months, and you can see that their performance is decreasing. Like it's getting worse and worse and worse. And like you have to take some time off from the job search, from the bad job, from anything, because everyone is stressed. And I personally find even 3 days can make such a difference in your headspace. You can also think differently about your future. Maybe you can think different about yourself as a candidate in these 3 days. Get bored. Boredom is the best aspirational point and source. But for that, you need to rest, you need to sleep, you need to eat, and you should not be on LinkedIn, basically, as easy as that. Second thing that many people don't do enough is finding mentors or coaches or therapists. And I personally think like I went through the burnout in the beginning of this year. I had 2 coaches and 1 therapist. I just attacked it from all sides, and I found it extremely helpful. And not all this help costs a lot. There is a lot of people who offering that for free. Don't take every advice that they give for 100%, because there's a lot of advisors who apparently now help to hire one candidate in their life, and now they know how recruitment process works, which I also highly recommend being careful with those advisors that you work with. But still, you can vent to them. They can understand you. You can talk about those things. You can talk about those feelings. They can still give you good tips and, ideas and things like that. So that's quite important. Second of all, for those who really struggle to get the full-time job, I honestly don't understand why people are so hung up on these like full-time roles. We all see that people get fired left and right. Start freelancing. Freelance entry point is so much lower than the full-time job. Like as a freelancer, you can get a job like that. There's a lot of opportunities for freelance because companies don't have runway to hire a full-time role, but they still need help. And also, they don't have, like, companies don't do recruitment processes for freelance. I've been an in-house recruiter for more than 6 years. When my hiring manager would come in and say, Lena, help me hire a freelancer, I would say, I'm sorry, this is not my job. I hire only full-time. You're on your own. So they really if I said they're desperate to hire full-time, they're really desperate to hire a contractor. So max, what you can do is to maybe send your portfolio and have a short conversation. And this is a great, great, great way to get into the door. And then potentially you could also convert. What you said about the networking as well, this is something also to add. Yes, you will not see results overnight, but if you do it consistently for 1 month, you will get the results, right? So also be strategic. I think what most of the people are really suffering from is lack of strategy in the efforts. How many outreaches did I send? How many companies did I apply to? How many converted into the first interview? How many converted to the second interview? What is the pattern of the feedback that I'm receiving at different certain stages of the process from different types of the companies? How's my A CV performing? How's my B type CV performing? All of those things have to be tracked. We all work with products and metrics and things like that. Like put those metrics in your recruitment application process. And I actually think really diving into your design and research kind of nature and iterating, being creative, being collaborative. Because somehow when designers and researchers see recruiters, they get scared. But then being collaborative is one of the major things that they should be doing at the job. Now, like, we're here to help, like, here we are. Like, we recruiters are called recruitment partners. We're partners to the business and we're partners to candidates. So collaborate, use your superpowers of product designers and researchers to do that. And I also think what's really, really, really important is just basically, understand that whether everyone is going to agree with me, but this is how I look at life. And when people usually take that kind of point of view, it seems to be better. I think if you're struggling with your job search, it's really okay not to blame yourself and be extremely kind to yourself, but also like try to see a good in it. Like, what is it teaching you? What are the skills that you have learned that you wouldn't? What are the people that you've met that you would have not met? Like, how are you feeling about your grit? Are you resilient? Do you feel strong? Yeah, you feel tired, but do you feel strong? Do you feel inspired by yourself? Reflect, reflect, appreciate yourself, be kind to yourself. And this is the exercise that definitely helps a lot in the job search. Because yes, if you connect networking, open mind, good design skills, strategy, and kindness to yourself, this is how you become a very hireable candidate.
I love it. Yeah. And this is something I've heard a lot of people give this advice, but I love this advice of treating your job search like a product and UX it just like you would UX, quote unquote, you as if UX is a verb, UX your job search. And the one thing that I feel like I see a lot, and I think this conversation has helped me quite a bit, is, as UX designers, we talk a lot about empathy, but we often only reserve that empathy for users and we fail often to empathy for other people on our team. And then just like you said, recruiters, partners, empathy for recruiters and understand where they're coming from and understand their job and understand what they are trying to do and how you can help them. Because if you help them, they are more likely to help you. And so I think that is just such an important thing to take away here. And I think this has helped me quite a bit, understanding a recruiter's perspective and, the recruiter funnel and how that works and where you fit in all that. I think it's a great way to just sort of tie this whole thing together. All right, Lena. So before we get out of here, I've got some questions that I like to ask all my guests to help our listeners get to know our guests a little bit better. But before we do that, let's give our live event one more plug. We're going to be hanging out next week. This episode comes out on a Tuesday. This is going to be the following week, Wednesday, December 17th at noon. You can check out beyonduxdesign.com/events for links to sign up, to get in on the action. But before we get into those questions, Lena, one more time, let everybody know, what kind of things do you want people to ask in our live event next week?
I definitely want people to ask me all about the funnel. So ask me, how do I apply for the role? What happens to my application when it actually lands into the ATS? What is the ATS? Let's talk about that, obviously, as well.
Oh, yes. We didn't talk about that today.
Is it checking my CV? Is it checking my portfolio? Is it rejected?
Is it a bot?
Is it a bot? Is it AI? Let's talk about that. And I definitely want to really ruin that myth that you are being rejected, that you should not be applying. I want to also have questions about networking, how to best network, who to best network, how to build your networking regime, and, just basically anything that can help you to convert the role.
I didn't even think about asking you about the bots today. That would have been, we could do a whole nother episode, I think, just about the bots. I think everyone is so scared, afraid of the bots automatically rejecting them. I think it's worth noting we only do that in healthcare claims in the United States. We don't do that for job applications, just healthcare. You just get AI just rejects your healthcare, which is mind-blowing. Anyway, totally off topic. Lena, I'm so excited. Next week, again, Tuesday, December 17th, 12 p.m. Eastern. Check out beyonduxdesign.com/events to get in on the action and links to register. All right. Are you ready for these questions, Lena?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward.
I've got 5 questions I like to ask all my guests to help our listeners get to know our guests a little bit better. All right. First up, what is your favorite non-design book?
So there is a book that's called The Book That Everyone You Love Should Read. I hope it's a correct one. It's from Philippa Perry. And it's a very good one about relationships and self-reflection and how different people perceive the same situation very differently. And it has taught me a lot about myself this year. I almost never finish a book until the end, but it was one of the books that I actually finished. So highly recommend.
All right. I feel like there's a lot of takeaways here too from like the job search process and how you have your perspective versus someone else in the same situation can be different. And that self-reflection, as we said, very important. All right. What is your favorite non-design podcast?
So Excited Design podcast, but I'm obsessed with Growth Mates from Kate Suman. Kate and I work together at Miro, and she's talking about very different topics. She has talked about the job search. She's talking about AI. She's talking about amazing products. She's talking to very powerful designers and product managers and women and, very, very different topics. But I find it just so fruitful and inspiring. This is my go-to weekly listen. So yeah, give it a listen as well. It's amazing.
Right on. I enjoy that one as well. If you're not following it, check it out. Growth Mates. It's a good one. I dig it as well. All right. What is your favorite meal? This could be something you've cooked, something your grandma used to cook, something in a restaurant, vacation spot, favorite meal.
Yeah. I don't cook. So salads is something that I eat all the time. But if I were to die tomorrow, my last meal would be French fries. I'm obsessed.
All right. Now, let me ask you this. Ketchup or do you do an aioli and you dip? Europeans are not big on the ketchup. That's an American thing, I guess.
Yeah, true. I would totally go for mayo. But back home we would mix mayo and ketchup, and we would call it a kitchenaise, and that's what I would go for sure.
All right. I like that. I used to mix mayo and mustard together. Give it a little
Oh yeah,
kick.
so good.
It's good stuff. What is your favorite vacation spot? You're in Europe. You got all kinds of places to pick from that are incredibly close.
That's true. Vacation or just like a lifestyle kind of place, Barcelona is my forever love. I wouldn't necessarily go there for like big beach vacation, but there are lots of places around. But Barcelona is a magical city. So definitely, whoever hasn't been there, highly recommend.
I've never been. I've only gotten to go to Europe for work. And at some point in my life, I will go for fun. Probably won't be till my kids are like old enough to come and I don't have to worry about them getting lost. And I don't have to worry about them complaining the whole time that we're like on our way to Europe, or I'll just leave them at home. Either one. Whatever happens first. I don't know. Who knows? All right. What is your favorite design tool that is not Figma?
Miro, obviously. Well, it's not a design tool.
Are you supposed to say that? No, I'm kidding. It's not a design tool. Actually, that's my answer. I personally, huge fan of Miro. I love Miro. I use Miro for everything. And I even love, I was using it for presentations and stuff before, don't tell anybody, but I like to use slides now, but Figma slides. But I like Miro presentations a lot. I used to use that because I'm not a fan of PowerPoint personally, but I like that it's accessible. Anybody can get in there. The whole team can share. Great tool. Miro, if you know anybody at Miro that can sponsor the show, give me a holler because we could use some sponsors. I'll use our network. There's a network. Get in that funnel. Get in that Miro sponsorship funnel. All right, Lena. Well, that is it. That is all the questions I have for you today. Before we get out of here, you've got something coming up soon, I think, that you might want to promote. Let everybody out there listening know where can they find you, sign up for your course, all that stuff. Give yourself a plug.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess in the nutshell, February and January, so January and February 2025 are going to be the first cohorts of 2025 for the Master Your Product Design and User Research Job Search course. So I will teach everything that I've learned in the last 7 years of recruitment to those who are seeking for their next challenge, but not succeeding, or maybe about to start looking for it, but afraid of going into this dark hole of, broken promises and ghosts.
It does feel a lot like a job search. It's just a pool of broken promises and disappointment.
It is what it is. But those are very, very fruitful and insightful 2 weeks together. There are 4 projects: CV, portfolio, networking, outreach, and pitch. I give my personal feedback. There is a group of peers. It's been extremely helpful. Lots of students and reports and interviews and confidence. And as I said, signed offers as well, which is incredible because it's not necessarily a promise because I can do just as much, but knowing that it actually enables people to sign the offers is absolutely incredible. So I would be very happy to provide a small promotion link as well with a small discount and see anyone at the course next year as well.
We'll include that in show notes and check it out. Do you have a URL? Do you have a website where people can find your courses and stuff?
It's maven.com/Lena Kul/Master Your Product Design and User Research Job Search.
If they go to Maven, can they search?
Yeah, if you go to Maven,
Lena-Kul, Kul, by the way, not
yes.
COOL. Yes,
KUL,
okay.
exactly.
Us Americans in English, we have weird spellings of words. All right. So, Lena, this has been an amazing conversation. I am so excited that we got a chance to talk today. I've been wanting to have you on for a long time. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. I learned a lot. I hope other people listening have also learned a lot. So thanks for coming.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. It's been a blast. Very fun, very insightful. I learned a lot as well, actually. And thank you so much for being such an amazing conversation partner. I love it.
I do my best. I do my best. No, kidding. All right. Awesome, Lena. Well, thank you very much. Well, all right, y'all. That's it for Lena and me for today. I hope we helped to shed a little bit of light on this concept of a funnel. It's probably a new concept for a lot of you out there, especially as it relates to job hunts. But if you look at your job search from the perspective of you selling your services, I think it makes a lot of sense. But have you tried any of these concepts out for yourself? Has it worked? Let me know what you think on LinkedIn. Shoot me an email, hello@beyonduxdesign.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you like what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you feel like you're getting something out of the show, I would love it if you left a 5-star review. That would help me out so much more than you know. And if you know somebody who might find any of this stuff useful and wants to tell them about it, that would be fantastic. Don't forget to check out the Beyond UX Design shop. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/shop to pick up some big, beautiful UX-themed art prints and digital downloads you can print yourself. Get your copy of Beyond UX Design, master your craft beyond pixels and prototypes in paperback, and get free shipping on all orders over $30. Use the code LISTENER to get 10% off your entire order. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/shop to get your print on. Help keep the show independent and ad-free. Check out beyonduxdesign.com/support to find out how. You can join Chris, Siraquan, Stacy, Radu, Megan, Andrew, John, Mark, Kevin, Jason, Michelle, Marty, and many others and help keep the show independent and ad-free. And you'll get rough transcripts and exclusive access to the entire video library of episodes, even episodes before they're released. You get instant access to video archives right now for as little as $5 a month. And if you've been sitting on building your new website, Wix Studio can help get you there faster. Wix Studio is a powerful platform that lets you create and manage websites easily. With Wix Studio, you can quickly adapt designs for every device, reuse assets, and my favorite, export from Figma, and much more. Check out beyonduxdesign.com/Wix to start creating today. If you're ready to escape the 9-to-5 and build your own business, Backlog is the community for you. Join a dedicated network sharing tactics, strategies, and systems for success. Start your journey to independence with Backlog. Don't miss out. Visit beyonduxdesign.com/backlog today. Remember to sign up for the newsletter and check out all the past episodes along with all the show notes at beyonduxdesign.com. I hope you keep coming back for more great UX tips from Beyond UX Design. And until next time, remember, you're more than a designer because there's more to UX and design. I'll see you around. Take care, y'all. So feel free to just sort of like go back and forth like two friends talking about how to treat your job search like a funnel. It's just
fun thing to talk about.
Right on. Yeah, very like just like normal thing two friends like to talk about, funnels.